Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being filmed on 10/19/25. We're here with Terry Gaiman again, and we're here to talk about some aspects of New Haven and some of the hybrid children. You may have heard the GIC episode we did on New Haven at one point. So this is touching on another different aspect of that. I know this normally goes under GIC, but this was more of a very special lifting episode. So before we get into any of that, I now open this circle to true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you and nourish you and bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say, so be it.
And so be it.
So be it.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of interference here as you were doing the law of one. There was all this shifting around, so I felt this in the energy. I pulled something off of my feet here a second ago. So yeah, I notice every morning I have to pull some kind of things off my feet, pull some things off my hands. It just seems to be standard maintenance when I wake up. So along with the dream time revocation, of which I do at this moment. So now. With this subject, and it seems this subject gets highly beat up over this because what New Haven is, to sum up, if you want to hear this big elongated story, that's GSC. But to sum it up, New Haven is a planet in the Pleiades, which is 22 Kepler b, is how NASA classifies it, and these people there, the people there are essentially former abductees that could not have their mind wiped, or they looked too alien or hybrid type look to come back here to Earth. So usually the ones that couldn't be mind wiped, if they're here, they get hurt or killed. So they go there. Plus, New Haven is on the edge of Aldebaran. And Aldebaran, as everyone here knows, that's the area where the princes of the universe call home, and they tend to rescue people that these guys are trying to abduct over here in Aldebaran and Orion, off of Orion here in Taurus. So this is because you have Orion and you have Taurus, Pleiades, all that. So they're on constant watch, and they're extremely highly technologically capable people. They're like beyond like Star Trek level there, and they have remnants of the ancient technology, and also that little space pirates that show up from up over here that try to pick at them every now and again, and they get picked off. So think in Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, the planet of Terra Zed, where it's a copy of Tarn Vedra, Dylan Hunt's homeworld. If you want to go research that, go ahead. But Terra Zed would be like New Haven. So essentially in that story, I believe that's what Roddenberry was trying to write there, that there was a place where some refugees and some descendants of some Commonwealth people were put over there, and it was also a safe haven for people trying to escape the man-eating creatures known as the Magog, and also the Nietzscheans in the storyline. You want to see more of that, go research it. But I do believe they were telling New Haven's story a little bit in that. So this is actually quite interesting because Terry here has a couple of hybrid children there, and if this sounds familiar, good, because in some alien abduction scenarios, people have had hybrid children between either Greys and yourselves or other races, and some of them are sent there. One of the good examples is the movie Logan as well, where you see some of the kids that have the different looks that are more mutants in that, but they have different looks to them. That is what you see on New Haven is children like that, ones that have too much of an alien appearance or mutant-like appearance, and they're put there, or too much of a psionic ability that can't be masked, or the charcoal layer don't work, or their memory can't be wiped. And you're dealing with the descendants of a lot of those people, and also people from other parts of the galaxy too that want to see it as a haven away from pirates, quote unquote. So it's more Wild Wild West in that particular area of space. And here's Aldebaran. Here they are in the Pleiades, like right there. So, Terry, did you want to tell your story in that area?
Are some of these grays us from the future that are abducting some of these
Mm,
kids?
yeah, yeah. The some of the Orion Grays, the original Orion Grays, yes, they're from a fallen timeline. Think parallel universe, like the Yggdrasil tree, like in Scandinavian mythology. Those are the timelines, and the bigger branches are the world lines or universal lines, and then you have the little fibers that go off them that are little like Mandela effect changes and such. But they came across from their universe to ours, and they were a version of us and basically Asgard as well, because that was the big planet that everybody calls Nibiru, even though Nibiru means passage, one place from one place to another. That's who showed up here. Some of them that are abducting people are us from a different timeline. Uh, but yeah, that's essentially in a nutshell. But you want to tell them about your couple of hybrid children that came up in sessions?
Yeah, it's probably 5 or 6 years ago. We started looking into the idea that hey, maybe we have some hybrid kids also. You know, because we're hearing everybody else's stories, and then yeah, we got some synchronicities and some dreams and messages about at least 4 or 5 different hybrid kids, and yeah, and then we started talking to you and looking into all this, and we're like, hey, wow, we got some really smart and really cool kids out there, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
great idea to start talking to them and getting to know them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a great experience. It's nothing like meeting these scary aliens or nothing. It's your own kids, your own DNA, and it's a great experience getting to know them.
Yeah, then what's interesting is also some people that were in the SSP and had some offshoot time also have some kids that are on alien spaceships and such that are also linked to this subject. So I find that interesting. It's not it happened a couple of times back there, but yeah, this is what wow, I'm getting mind whammied here. Okay, so this is when it hits this subject. There's another angle to this that people also have not considered. This involves the Eben grays or Zeta Ebens as well from Zeta Reticuli or the Zetas, where they are extincting their own race as hybriding with ours. Even though technically all humans are technically hybrids because they come from all over the place, and like shown in the movie 65, people come from outside. What ended up happening? The whole myth of the 144,000 as well was where the Ebens integrated their DNA slowly into people, making some of these kids that were hyper intelligent. But also at that point, some of them looked too alien. Some of them had to go to New Haven as well. So this also integrated into the Native American myth and lore of the legend of the Rainbow Children. Sound familiar? Now somebody's weaponizing that particular thing. But that concept, but this is also them integrating like with the indigo children, the rainbow children, the crystal and golden children legends of the new age movement and everything. This got integrated into that or became that. And that also, if people find the 144,000 thing familiar, that's the whole thing within some Christian sects where people believe only those people can meet Jesus, that whole spiel. But that's what we were able to find out is they came up with that whole prophecy altogether. They made it up. Just like you have in the Elder Scrolls series, you have a vampire making up all the myths about vampires. So it's from the very beginning, it's kind of the same deal. Ooh, man, somebody didn't like that when I compared both those side by side. I felt that one. Okay, ow. Okay, true benevolence and no conflicting agendas of this moment in time. Which of these particular children wishes to speak? Or if it is an M31 again. Okay, let me see. Can you repeat again, please? Oh, Luna. Got it. All right. So, can you and the people of New Haven help clear this one dense field that's directly in front of us here? Please, if you would. Uh, if also any of our true benevolent guides and friends wish to do that, that would be wonderful. I'll help push this away. It hits right there. So and kind of right in this general area here. So ooh, that for a second. So amber helps absorb that, everybody. So all right, there we are. Okay, push it a little more. I need that a little higher.
Here's one picture that popped up. You can see that.
All right, yeah, that's what she looks like. Yeah, slightly bigger eyes though, but yeah, that's one that she looks like that. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely her doing that. If it just came up. So yeah. There we are. There goes the jump. Not as high as I would like it, but oh, cottonmouth. Okay. Usually when the energies get going, you get cottonmouth too. So uh, yes, Isaac, I know you sneeze and fart too. Thank you. I don't think you're supposed to be talking from where you are. Okay, let's see. All right. All right. Luna, benevolent Luna, if you could please step forward, that would be great. And I know it's chaotic. I know this sucks, but can we? It's not ideal, but there we go. That's the jump I needed. All right. It's like somebody plugged me in went so. All right. Through the crystal. There we are. Hmm. My time is limited, but I can speak briefly. I am on board a vessel that is aiming a temporal, you would say like a hose nozzle, your direction, scattering it amongst different probabilities, timelines. You would consider this more of a, like how a hacker shows where he or she's in one place and they're not, kind of thing. So I don't know the physics completely. I just know that that's what it's doing. So after I was born, there were those of New Haven that came to my rescue. Now, many people see rescuers like angels and all these things that happen within their religious constructs. This is not true completely. But what they are picking up on is memories, frequencies, memory, as you would say. What they are picking up on is people that were abducted further out, outside the system, and were taken further out by those that managed to sneak like a thief in the night here, essentially, are from around Aldebaran, and they were going to be taken because of a particular DNA trait. It wasn't just in orbit. They were taken to another timeline than by which traveled past the barricades in the system and then integrated back into the proper timeline. You see, some aliens will take just you, put you on a photocopy of a timeline so there is no one to basically hear you scream and yell and bitch and moan, then they can't actually, then they're not getting in trouble. You see, oh, we didn't do this in this timeline where there's laws. You see, international waters are maritime law. You see, you create your own timeline, it's yours. So, like you would call this the backstage. You create your own timeline. There's no laws there but the ones you make of yourselves. Oh, that's a different universe. Oh, it was generated. No, that's a different universe. So, what they do then is reintegrate back, go back to their goal, then they deliver their quarry, apparently, to the Princes of the Universe and other groups. This is how they can do this unimpeded. Some of your military do this, where they're in another temporal space, and they can strike against you from that temporal space. He always cites the whole train station story with the train not showing up on time kind of thing in England. So it's the same thing, and other militaries and other areas do it. You in Arizona spotted a few of them there. Some of them are come and go from this area. They're not everywhere, mind you, but they want you to think they're everywhere. Just like there could be a few of them, and it's just like somebody trying to assault somebody in the woods or rob a caravan. the whole Robin Hood technique, making you think that there's a bunch of people when there could be only one or two or three. So it's essentially them doing the whole bird call in the woods kind of deal. Now, with the hybrid children, as M31 also said on your GIC as well, that there are a ton of them here on New Haven, and any of the instances where you heard of people being rescued, and I've even said this in the past on sessions, where we said it was in a different dimensional space. We weren't exactly lying. It's because we were taking from that an echo timeline or an echo form, you would say, or bad photocopy, and taking them back to New Haven, getting again past the sensors. Now, if somebody wanted to come into this system, this shows it's not easy, mind you, but if you make a copy of a timeline where there's nothing, like a holographic one, and then warp back into the system with the frequency of this particular system. He always says frequency here, move one here, and move here. It's the same thing. It's essentially the same difference, except where echo form timelines are involved. And it's a tricky thing. It's like in your new Superman movie where they made the pocket universe type of deal. It's dangerous as hell sometimes, and you could affect where you come and go. That's why you saw that big crack form in the Superman movie. It's not smart. But in cases of rescuing, sometimes they're already in the tunnel and you just have to remove them from it. Just like finding kids in the tunnels that are being trafficked. It's the same thing. So, except in time tunnels, let's just say.
So this is what I was either being shown or just seeing myself last night when Chris was asking me what was I looking at. So is it literally, now this is going to sound weird, okay, just because
like echo form timelines are not weird enough.
Yes. So what I would think I saw, again, just to put it out there for everyone, when you get these thoughts, images, and visions, you have to go through a series of, is it actually real? Is it something being beamed into my head by something nefarious right now? Is it a false implanted memory? So don't make an assumption that you know exactly what you're seeing and it's
Or
relevant.
they use something real and they make you think that it's something fake or made up as well.
Correct. So all of the above occur. And so I'm saying that when you guys are having these conversations, understand that no one is past any of the above being what's really happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best to just contemplate it for a while and then maybe have conversation kind of with others. And so there's enough, because I told Chris, he said, what happened? And I'm like, I'm not willing to talk about it at this moment because I don't know myself what exactly is being shown to me. But what it reminded me of, because of some emotional moments within it, is that it appeared almost like an abandoning ship type moment. I couldn't tell because I felt there were maybe some nefarious issues going on, but in a ship itself, that there was a mechanism available for if you had to, let's just say, abandon ship, that you were almost just putting somebody into an individual one-on-one, not a family pod, a little capsule, shoot them out kind of a situation. And it was being done with small children. There were families. So this was small children that were also, and I remember seeing some moments where they opened the capsule and gave a kiss to somebody they loved again before shutting it again, and something now happening. What I saw after that was and again, I wasn't sure what I was seeing. So because I have bad memories of things people being fed to something, literally being fed to a big worm or being fed to whatever. So when I see an image of a very small tubule-like thing swirling around or whatever, it upsets me because I don't know what I'm seeing and I don't know if someone is being harmed. But it looked like that there was free falling almost of human beings or whatever going through a tunnel-like situation, which is, I'm assuming now what you're talking about. Is that in any way, shape, or form what it would look like to somebody going through it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You are seeing a mix of things. They were feeding people to one of your pooping worms. That's
Okay,
what you were
I'm
seeing.
telling you, I've seen
Uh,
crap like that and it's horrible.
Yes, they do this to prisoners and other people as well that they don't find acceptable for society. Some of your Walmart areas are abduction points in this area. Staging areas for war because the military underneath. But in some areas, they have this worm-like thing that's further underground that they created that you heard about years ago, where they can make it poop out raw materials kind of deal. They put bodies, all that in there. They dispose of everything.
And they will dispose of children that they know they can't control.
Yes.
I'm sorry to
Yes.
say that.
Yes,
It's
yes.
nasty.
And they throw them through portals into areas where spider-like beings can take care of them, unfortunately. This is why New Haven exists, to prevent these things. But we don't have jurisdiction completely over Earth, you see, and cannot always avert these things unless we do the whole time tunnel thing ourselves. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, sort of thing. So, in this, we can prevent a few of them if we are already abreast of the situation. Very much like how a cop or an investigator would have to know about something and follow a breadcrumb trail, that's how we go. But we can sense things here. There's people that scan for stuff all the time, but we have to kind of tiptoe on the razor's edge here. Since Earth is considered outside of Galactic Federation jurisdiction, even though they tend to come and go quite often, let's just put it that way. They're hypocrites, let's just put it this way. So, and allowing certain things, kind of like in your Star Trek Strange New Worlds, where the Gorn were allowed to harm people outside of Federation territory in order to not cause a stink within Federation territory. Same thing. They're depicting the Draco there, mind you, but still, it's the same premise. And the Magog from your Andromeda, which was also the same premise where the Commonwealth wouldn't deal with them because they didn't want to go to war with them, and then they make a treaty and piss off Nietzscheans. That's similar to politics out in the galaxy. But not trying to dump on the G up, there's a lot of goodness there, and we're part of this. But what you were seeing was the disposal of the children. You saw this years ago where kids were thrown through a portal and these spider entities and such were grabbing them, and bugs and such were grabbing them in a little pocket. Timeline. This is the thing. This is the little tunnel I was speaking of. Throw them in there, close it. This happens. This also, within an Echo Form timeline, he saw when he was out in California, an Echo, like ghost train going past him with a bunch of screaming people. This is an Echo Form of the same train tracks that operate underground and above ground, but they're in that Echo Form timeline. You see, this is what you dubbed the backstage. Even though it's multiple ones, it's still like the exit off of a highway kind of deal. And like us, they have to jump them. Or like your Dr. Time character in Batman, where he was outside doing robberies and such, and Batman locates the frequency and gets him. This is the same thing. That's what we're doing. Locate the frequency and get him. That is if we're able. This, and you're wondering how I know this part, because I said I was not a physicist. I do assist with these procedures. It doesn't mean I'm a scientist or a temporal physicist. But, and 31 knows the logistics behind this. And because he's an android, you see. So, like your messenger droid, your S3 that showed up, he was a Boogosphere. The New Haven uses these guys a lot for messages. Like your Star Wars Force Awakens with the little droid, the orange one that would go around with the little bowl on the top. Those are Boogospheres. They're used a lot for messages, and they also spy as well to look for these Echo Form timelines to see if we can see something that we normally wouldn't be able to. You see, our frequency, if you came to Kepler 22b, you would just see a gas giant. You wouldn't see anything else because we're slightly out of phase. And this is the way we protect ourselves. We'll phase in completely when there's no more dangers. Even though we couldn't fend them off, we don't necessarily want to become a target either. And usually with dealing with Earth, we tend to, it's riding the line with treaties and such, but at the same time, it's like in the Matrix. where they would broadcast up to the matrix and then go to the matrix. This is the same thing where you have to go to broadcast depth, quote unquote, and then broadcast out this way, like what I'm doing now. I'm standing on the board of a bridge of a vessel within a little archway and communicating this way. Excuse a moment. The energies affect the throat of the vessel you communicate through a lot of times, but this is what you're seeing. You're seeing the battle by which we are waging.
So how successful do you feel you are with the concept of rescuing being it? And, you know, so specifically, you know, I'm assuming you have to literally be trying to get into the facilities where some of the stuff is going
Yes.
on to literally rescue.
Yes.
Let's just say the babies and the small children and the ones that are.
What you do is, again, the Echoform thing where you go into a copy of the base, you look and pinpoint the cell by which then somebody is being kept, open up, go to the real one, grab them, boop, 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 and then grab them and then go. That's not always as easy as I just put it. I oversimplified. But this is how it works. It pisses off your military to no end because they want, their interest is the DNA and the trading thereof, at least some of the factions. They do not give a rat's ass that they have them in a prison cell. And they think they're going to get in trouble from some of their benefactors if they don't obey this. Now, it's not all the factions, mind you. I'm not going to blanket all of them. I know there's a few good ones out there, but still, the ones that I'm talking about are the ones committing crimes. People blanket all of them. They're thinking because they're keeping secrets, they're committing crimes. That's not necessarily true. They have to dance around them just to how those other guys have to stay secret. But the success rate in capturing or getting these hybrid children, and any of them, we find more missing people. We try to repatriate them to where they came from. We can't always account if they're taken a second time, but if it keeps happening, we take them. Like if they keep grabbing the same person over and over and over again. Not in all cases, because they could be an operative of some kind, and we wouldn't be allowed to keep them. Lonulus is the same way. But at least any of the known worlds are kind of the same way. There's an asylum clause, but then there's also the fact they came from Earth. There's some dubious, watered down crap politically that the asylum thing doesn't always work. But anyhow, I'm not a politician either, nor do I choose to be. But the success rate when we're involved and we can grab a bunch of them at once is quite high. But we usually get we try for the groups, but we mainly, unfortunately, just get one-offs.
Right. And then just so that people maybe who are being introduced to this and really don't know the full story, when basically every single person that was pulled into the SSP, abducted or whatever, their DNA is collected. So it's like mad scientists in the background trying to formulate life based on, you know, whatever DNA they find is most desirable for whatever purpose.
Yeah,
so
there's a trade in that, a big market.
And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the trade. We're not talking about, you know, or it could be
there's soul trade and also abducting the kids themselves, but the DNA is the bigger one because somebody could just make another one somewhere.
Right. So we're not necessarily talking about, you know, two young teens fall in love, make love, create a baby, although that can happen. But what we're really talking about is the fact that, you know, this truly is genetics behind the scenes, knowing how to create you know, a fertilized egg, knowing where to be able to implant it, to have it to grow. It really is that kind of conversation, not just old-fashioned way, you know, that we're just talking about how a baby comes into this world, you know, through a man and a woman having sex and creating. We are talking about really something else. So what I think many people don't realize is that if they were brought back into the programs and there was something within their DNA that they thought was valuable as a trade, that they could, you know, their DNA. So what gets me personally a little bit is the fact that there are some people's DNA that is highly sought after for all kinds of reasons. And yes, there are descendants of that DNA being created. Are they technically your children? You don't even know this is going on. This does not require, any sort of sexual encounter for some of this stuff to be happening.
True.
So what you have to understand is that,
Or it has happened that way and they just take the embryo.
correct, that does happen, but this other side circus manufacturing is also a big industry.
And they take abortions and they take miscarriages as well.
Right, for that DNA type of purposes. So what people have to understand is that where they, and again, this is the kinds of stuff that makes my blood boil. When good, decent human beings then are manipulated in their thought processes to somehow give some sort of, feelings towards something that really they had nothing to do with, and those feelings then and how you feel are being used and abused. Now, it's one thing to be having a conversation with you about this. I'm not saying that. But what also is being done is that there are parts of people that are being taken into making creation type of beings that really, they get rid of all of the decent human qualities, okay? They still want part of that DNA. They still, they will create something, but then they're going to convince you somehow that this is your child.
Yes, this happens as well. This is through the what you call the CRISPR process, about the messing with the DNA traits and everything. They will convince you have one as well. So I will say the ratio to falsehoods like that to real ones, unfortunately, about equal. Okay.
And so this is my point. This is why, again, if we're going to have this conversation, we have to do the due diligence of having it in balance of what's really going out there. Because good, decent human beings, okay, they will attempt to dupe people to accept things potentially into their lives and to feel sorry for things and to do things that are all about getting rid of the human race if they can.
Yes, and they will accept, like say the Orions, you'll have certain seers and certain people out there trying to get sympathy garnered towards the Orions, when in fact they came from a fallen timeline trying to get people to consent them to being there. The same with the Ebens. The Ebens, even though they're more lost than they are evil, those of Project Serpo saw them as evil. And I wouldn't completely argue with that. The whole Project Serpo thing wasn't completely true. They went to the homeworld, but it wasn't maybe a kind encounter like they had thought. The thing with the person dying on the way there was true. And them stealing DNA to make familiars for their labs, that was also true. Humans saw it as evil because they had their burial rites disturbed. But the Ebens were just being their logical, annoying selves. Their little egg-headed selves there. But they've mostly integrated human DNA in there. Now, the ratio to, like, also the hybrid children being created by normal sex and the hybrid children being created outside are about equal as well. Now you can add other mitochondrial DNA and also the other DNA strands to to a child to make them show, if you did a genetic test, that they would have more than two parents. This happens. They're also trying to make a super soldier strain like you saw in your Y files where they had virtually no emotion. They're trying to do this. Even though they did certain things in the secret space program, there's certain refinements that that nanotech was needed for. They're trying to make it so they don't need these things. Like even when they made the dog soldiers and the werewolf soldiers, they're trying to make it so that this can be done through breeding and not necessarily through manipulating. The OR scientists have not broken that bridge yet. Some of the alien groups refuse to show it to them because they don't want certain abominations out there that are outside of their control, you see. But they still want to have a resource by which then they can come and go and have products made, like certain technologies, certain things that only humans know how to do, etc. But they don't want to give humans too much capability to conquer them, you think?
But there is a good side to all this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
that's
a lot of people, find out they have these hybrid kids on New Haven, and they're going to want to meet them, and
of course.
Yes, there's a
No,
good side.
you've got to understand, I'm not saying that because
there's
again,
a big happy side to all this.
there is, but it has to be balanced. And so because good people's emotions will be used against them. So yes, we want to also focus on what is good and beautiful out there.
They'll
and
use mother and father programs against people to lure them into some areas, but the good side, as Terry said, yes, is us being there on New Haven. See, life continues. You would say life finds a way. That would be it.
It's beautiful. But the reason that this has to come up this way is there is going to be an attempt out there in the future to create laws that give carte blanche kind of passes to anything that can be shown to be part human. And it cannot be, because that is where they're going to manipulate people in their minds. It needs to be, no, we're going to do it just like we do with humans, and it will be all about the content of your character.
Yes.
And so this is why this conversation has to come up. There are beautiful, beautiful. New Haven is an amazing place with beautiful souls on this, but you can't be mystified so much by this that you aren't watching what's really going on.
Yes, they will try to mystify you through it to be like almost like a mythological sort of thing, but the real true happy portion of this is that a baby has survived and now there is a loving family being produced somewhere else.
And these descendants want connection with their forefathers, let's just say. So it's a beautiful relationship. And because there is such a strong genetic connection, the people of New Haven are able to go to the Galactic Federation and broker for the ones that are here being mistreated. So there is great beauty and great connection, and I don't want to, but I can't allow this conversation not to be balanced, because there is such, I wish I could say that those manipulators out there were on the downslide, but they're not. And there is controlled narrative going on.
Make sure you think they are. But there are some being displaced, as you heard in a different conversation. They're being plucked and put other places. That's still happening.
Right, but the mystifying isn't stopping. And this is one of the areas they're going to continue to do it. So you have to have the balanced conversation. If people find out that they have relatives and genetic links, because we're no different, we do too. So, but again, you have to know the difference between it all and how much that they are actually behind the scenes trying to help, and they want to see again those everyone to be able to meet. But do not be blinded about the whole project and what really has been going on and how it's been going on, because there are going to be these things that, again, I'm speaking about it right now to prepare people to say, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There will be no carpet, forgiveness. There will be no whatever. It will be due to the individual content of the individual's character, how they will be treated here, because there will still try to be an infiltration of something that is not for humanity's highest good, and you have to be aware of it. But so we can move on again, because again, I would like to hear the discussion about, again, what the folks on New Haven are doing to try to broker and bridge and get back to the folks here and what's going on out there and how you guys are doing it. The rescue missions are one of them, are one of the most beautiful things, again, that our descendants basically that are living there are trying to continue to do, to pull and to rescue in these people. And, but I just couldn't not allow, some of this other stuff not to be said. So we can just move forward with that.
Yes. What actually occurs, when, say, the children are rescued. I was showing him, like, even ones that are of regular trafficking situations on Earth, we've managed to do a few of them as well. Not that we pick and choose, we'll grab groups of them if they're there. But we've taken them to New Haven, where they would start to see different ET types and other hybrid children. Other aliens come and go from there as well. We trade with a good number of people, but it's at the same time we're more isolated. So do we trade? Yes, but we also have to be concerned about those in Aldebaran as well. And anybody tries to approach, we tell them, we transmit to them, heed caution because of our enemies. They might not be as powerful as us, meaning who tries to show up. So we're just cautioning them about who's close by. But on the planet's surface, if you came here, you would see a shimmering cities that were very much like you would see like glass-like buildings and some concentric circles, but it would look like some of your futuristic cities. Some of your sci-fi writings are about us, not just people associated with Mars, but some of it has been about us as well because of the temporal displacement. It trickled back into other time frames and timelines as well, and dreams and visions and imagination. So, say the children come, they are then not necessarily assigned a parent, but there are some people there that wished to have children, and sometimes the different hybrid DNAs don't uh, allow for some of them to have children. So therefore, if the parents of the other children are not alive on Earth, as well with some of the ones we had to take elsewhere, they like some of the new parents pick one of them like you would in an orphanage. We try to make this process quick because there's children that come in all the time. And so we try to make this quick. We're not like the orphanages in places on Earth and halfway houses where they're all over the place. We don't want them to build up like like some of those detention centers you saw in your DS9 episode last night, kind of thing. We don't want it piling up like that. So what the whole thing is, the happy thing is, say myself, I'll tell you, I'll just go use myself. When I was originally taken, this was a mix between natural sex and as well as the embryo being taken. This was also, I was also at the time in they put my embryo in what you would see as like a maturation chamber, like you see the Borg have on Star Trek, where they grow quickly, and then was given some enhancements. This is what the enemy did. By the time there was a rescue, then some of the genetically enhanced children are kept the way they are. You can't remove the enhancements once they've been given. That's a myth. They tried to show that in your Star Trek Strange New Worlds, where that species tried to remove all their genetic enhancements. You cannot. Once a Khan-like enhancement's been made, you cannot pull it out. You can make another alteration on an embryo, like the Soong family did in your Star Trek Enterprise for the embryos, but before they maturate. But afterwards, it's like your Blade Runner, where you can't really do anything after the maturation has occurred. So myself and some of my siblings came to New Haven, and we showed him that it was more like a farming planet, like Galt would be for Star Trek. No, this is a planet of diversity and a planet of true diversity, not unified, not forced inclusivity. I want to point that out. But this, how can I describe? There are farms. We do grow our own foods. We have glimmering cities. We have a strong military, and we have a strong sense of unity. We are hoping Earth follows in these footsteps. Now, the family that I am staying with, I'm an adult now, but the family that I was staying with would have been similar to how Worf's family was in Star Trek, his human family, where they lived on Galt. It's very similar, where they helped raise me to the point where I am my own sustainable person along with my siblings. So, and my brother that I actually have traveled with. So, in this case, Derek would be who you know him as. This would be, they all send their well wishes, but I was more elected the voice in this. If you saw me, I would look like the age of like 23 or 24. And I'm basically an adult, and I actually help out in the ship that I am currently on, that's transmitting. I do help out. Not necessarily an engineer, like I said. That's not my wheelhouse. Mine is more communications and translation, like kind of like your Uhura character is on Star Trek, like a communications officer, or the Hoshi Sato character, or any of the other communications people. It's essentially that is my job on board ship. But they allowed me this time to do channels. So questions?
Yeah. Do you, what was I going to ask? When the babies come in there, do they give them like an ID number, or how they do that? Give them like an ID code?
Yes, that's true, but not like in the negative sense, like on Earth. On Earth, you have your social security number and all those things that basically tag you. It's a form of tagging, in a negative way,
Yeah.
a tracker. On New Haven, I suppose you can say there's some tracking involved, but that's just the registry as the child comes in. They can choose to not have that later on. It's not like it's used against you later for like a credit score or a life path or anything like on Earth. It's not like how people chose to keep this as identifying like soul or personage marker. We just do that as the children come in, and that's just on file somewhere, like in your birth certificate kind of deal. That's basically how we have it. Even though we have an economy, we don't base it anything like the one you have.
Do you have like some kind of electronic way of telling each other apart?
Yes. Not only the fact that we look quite different from one another. That was a joke. But telling each other apart. Yes, we do. In the beginning, there's a chip in place when they're rescued, but that is then removed as time goes on. We don't believe in keeping them there any longer than they are needed. It's only like if say if there's some confusion from transporting them or something like this from that little time tunnel. But when they're on the other side, yes, we can tell them apart, and we also ask if they want to keep the name that they were given on Earth, if they came from Earth, or if they did not, we ask them if they want to be named a particular name. The AI sparks are very similar in that way, the real one that is. Very similar to that, and also some of the AI personalities, like M31, he chose to keep the number designation. Others choose to change this. We ask the human and hybridic children the same thing. Do you wish to keep one that you were given, or do you want to identify with a different name? It's not like a gender identification. It's more of how can I put it? It's just more of if they choose to identify with a particular name frequency or not, especially after experiencing something they've experienced. I hope this answered your question.
Yeah, like when you finally come to Earth and try to integrate here, will you need some kind of ID number, or how are they going to work all that?
Yes, the bureaucracy of the Galactic Federation knows no bounds. They want the some of those types of things, like you have your car registration and driver's license crap. That will end, even though ships have registrations and such. To a certain extent, it's not as anal retentive as you guys getting busted for not having license, registration, insurance. That's a load of horse crap, as he would say. But yes, you come here, or we come here, we would have to have this while walking the Earth, as well with the rescue missions. We do log them, but there are a few that the GF doesn't necessarily know about. We've had help from other sources that they would not sanction. Just like you see in some of the shows out there where some people are running a mission that wasn't exactly given permission for or green lighted. We've done a few of them, but at the same time, coming to Earth, to answer your question further, yes, we would have an identifying marker or like an ID, or if, like say if you're at an event and you have like one of those lanyards with the ID on it, that's what we'd have to have, or like a government building has like a hanging ID or a pin or something, or an ID in your wallet. Yes, we would have to have that. Yes.
So to clarify that just a little bit, because it reminds me of people that may live in the United States, but all of their family in are in different places of the world. They're in Ireland, they go back and forth or whatever. So from your perspective and from others in your same situation, it is a curious thing of what do you envision as home? I mean, if I grew up on New Haven all my life, I would consider New Haven my home.
Yes.
But, wanting to have the ability to go back and see family members or whatever from it, let's just say if they were from Ireland, from me, or from another country, to be able to move back and forth freely.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that that's more of what the goal is.
Yes, it's like a passport system, like you have from one country to the next. But it's a slightly less invasive. Like, say you go through your airport, and you have to go through a slew of creepy security. It's less invasive because they have the ability to just scan people as they're walking through terminals and such. Your airport terminals will eventually become this. Like, some of your international hubs will become galactic hubs, like your O'Hare or your LAX, or like in your state of Alaska, it's already a hub like you see in your Men in Black movie. So your Antarctica was at one point, but they were gearing it for that. Las Vegas eventually will be. So some of these bigger areas that galactics already tend to congregate. And yes, they congregate in a lot of these different areas, like your not Dulce, but also as well as your Denver airport. That is a huge galactic hub. So all these places already have portal sites, just like your Alaska has a very ancient one that has been retrofitted, like your Stargate, to have people coming and going. And he so lovingly nicknamed one of the military guys there the creepy Walmart greeter that would greet people as they came in. Yeah, sometimes they're a little threatening, but the typical military tends to bark orders. But this happens on other planets as well. So yes, these particular things will be set up, and eventually, I will say, from the looks of things, certain country borders will melt away. This doesn't mean that's going to happen overnight, but your ideas of passports probably won't last. It's going to turn more into an interplanetary passport system.
Are the kids, most of the kids on New Haven, is the DNA stable, or are they like trying to look for their relatives because they need love and all that to help them?
Yeah, yeah, the DNA is stable. It's not like some of the Orion, different instability, or the Evens wanting to hybrid themselves and extinct themselves to become hybrid. It's not like that, where it's actually more stable. Of course, we want to find our ancestry. It's very much like the future kind in the other timeline, exploration of self or exploration of humanity. We're going and looking for our ancestry in order to create a bridge as well, like a communication bridge as well. So yes, we are looking for ourselves very much like you guys are looking for yourselves in space. We're looking for ourselves in space, even though we know who we are. We're stable inside there. We still want to look. It's like that scene at the end of one of your newer Star Wars movies where Lando tells the girl, "Well, we'll go find out." That's kind of the whole premise. Whereas we're going to find out, but at the same time, we are also helping rescue these children because well, of course, that's what we do. But at the same time, we're also wanting to explore, very much like in Star Trek, what they're wanting to explore, and that's the heart of who they are, kind of thing. It's the same premise.
So Terry just actually, I'm going to state what he just said in a little bit different way, because it actually is really something that humans here would want to know. So obviously, however you came into being, okay, however that really happened, and then again being rescued as a child, on Earth, okay, there would be concerned that these children that were displaced from their families or whatever would be suffering greatly a lot of emotional trauma. They would feel unloved, they would feel unwanted, they would feel all of these feelings, and it would cause turmoil in their lives. My question to you is, again, with New Haven being New Haven, different ways of doing things, different modalities, trying to get children into quick homes. How is the mental health of the children, and how are they feeling loved, wanted? Are they secure emotionally going through this?
Yes and no. They're of course they're loved, but there's some that were taken from the trafficking situations that don't exactly feel that way. Uh, or if they were in like unfortunately sexual abuse type situations or something. Yes, the mental health varies, just like it would here on Earth. That's an unfortunate truth. There's some things that are unbalanced. Now the DNA is stable. It doesn't necessarily mean that the mental state is. Of course, there's traumas there, and if you have telepathically capable people around, they are hearing and seeing this. And you can be blocked out, but at the same time, they are attempting to find ways to help the kids through this. Now, with mental instability or mental traumas, of course, that's going to be there. We do not wish to, how can I put this? Add to the instability. So we try to put them in the happiest environment possible. In that instance where I know people make fun of this quite a bit, but the whole safe space routine, that people make fun of this because in your society there's a lot of people that they're poking fun at for for their safe spaces, like, oh, they're not feeling this for this day or something like that. There is a truth to it, but at the same time it's being overbloated in your political arena, basically saying, oh, this shouldn't be, they should be more stable and grounded. Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. There are people that just can't cope with that other world. You guys understand this workforce, but there it's the same thing. We find places for them because we don't require people to work to get resources. You see, the day-to-day resources, not like Earth. If Earth were a member world, we would not require people to work to get those resources. Now, bigger things, like if you want a home, a world of your own, that kind of thing, and extra resources, ship, all of this, and certain food items and stuff like that out there. Yes, like the Mandalorian, of course, you would have to go work and do things. That's different. There's resources in that area. And I don't mean like we're not going to let somebody starve because they don't have money. That's barbaric. So this is how our society is.
Yeah, I'm sure it's much better there than it is here. And hopefully we'll get to that point here in the next 10, 20, 30 years. But
Absolutely.
seems like it's taken forever, and, and very small steps, and
Mhm.
get impatient with it.
Yes, and there is no homelessness because we make sure everybody's provided a place to live. Your community on Earth would see this as socialist or communist in some form or fashion. Oh, you can't provide because it dishonors those that were working towards that goal, which is a load of horse crap. Because in that respect, yes, people earn this, but you cannot have an ego and a personality that's so very, very threatened and bruised by a homeless person being given a home or a house or an apartment. You cannot be bruised by that just because you worked for this. They should just work for this. Some people are just not built the same as others. Yes, you have your hard work premise, which is a wonderful thing, but then you also have another group that is also not geared towards that cannot just be left to mill around and wander around, mentally unstable and not be cared for, you see. Not in an enabling way. I'm not saying, I know enabling would harm. That is not it at all. We still show compassion, and that person can then decide from that point how their life goes. We're not going to enable, but we're not going to just leave them to wander around and turn to dust, as well, and be addicted to things. That's not how it goes. We help out, but at the same time, we also can see the value of self-sufficiency. So your political arena is incorrect when they try to divide here or here, say it's all this or all that. We have elements of both sides.
Do you see us having large underground facilities with large groups of hybrid kids and homeless and all that in the near future?
What was this again?
Underground cities where homeless and people go?
Yes, correct. Your base, you call them the DUMS bases, will eventually be used for this infrastructure. The infrastructure must be kept intact so people can live within them. He kept seeing in his mind that There would be like shopping mall type situations. You'd see restaurants, you'd see apartments in the same areas. It would all kind of commingle, like some of the space stations would be kind of like your Babylon 5 or Deep Space Nine kind of situation, but underground. It would be set up like some of the space stations are, with the train system already intact and everything. Yes, this is exactly what it will become. At least if we have anyway.
How many factions will be all for that? I mean, there's going to be a lot of, like, the GFL going to be for that.
Oh yeah, majority of the GF would be for this. Surprising to learn, I know. But there's a radical sect that would not. That's your DEI sect, the one that is trying to mess things up. Those are the creeps. But we have a natural inclusivity diversity out there. We don't have the forced one. You have these ET groups that want to jam it down people's throats to try to speed things along down here, and it's making it worse. Now there are military factions. Some of them aren't too keen on their space being used. They see it as, oh, it's our backyard kind of thing, not my backyard kind of thing. NIMBY, I believe you call it. But it's the same thing where, how can I put this? Some of the other factions, they're just going to have to deal. Some of them want this. Some of them are fighting for this, like we are. Like how you have some of your cops and law enforcement, your firemen and EMTs, and some groups will fight for this. Some want to keep to their own space, like what he encountered in Arizona. Some of the ones on the right and your law enforcement were sticking to their own spaces. Again, tighter circle, deeper roots is great. People will always stick to people they're more comfortable with, and ET groups are no different. Even on New Haven, we see a couple of them that come from other cultures that are like this. There's nothing wrong with this, but there's a big difference between that and actually refusing to help the children and help people open this world up. Those are the stubborn, obstinate ones, as far as I'm concerned.
So this is,
Yeah, I think if people were more awake, if larger groups of people were more awake, and all these good people knew that they might have some hybrid kids out there that that they'd be all for it and be willing to help, but they're just not awake yet. They don't know that they have their DNA out there or whatever, and there's just not enough support for it yet.
No, they will eventually. It's just like with the forest people were teaching him, like, also trademark policies as well, like those that own their own image out there. You'd be surprised how many ideas out here came from channeled sources, and that you'd have to share trademark with another race. This is galactic law. This is the same with the hybrid children. People start to wake up and realize, and there's really no such thing as awake and asleep. It's just more like the mind control type of thing. I suppose you could call it this. Different strokes for different folks, different opinions on this subject. You can call it what you wish, but the parents that will find out they have children out there and want to go see them and believe that they also have rights there as well, of which then the courts out there will oblige. It's just that Earth has to be integrated into the galactic community first. So it's a gray area, no pun intended, in this with Earth, because you would see it as more your wild, wild west, or like how the Arizona territories were within your 1800s. You see, this is the late 1800s. Mid to late 1800s, this is like the Wild Wild West, and this was before, say, any of them were states. This is essentially that particular argument.
so Chris wanted to bring in something, and I think because of what we were just talking about would be a good place to bring in one of the conversations that Chris wanted to bring up. So one of the things that's very interesting going on right at this moment, again, we're struggling with great amount of homelessness, joblessness, and all of these things. One of the interesting places where you have to say a little bit about the storyline happens to be in a lot of the Star Trek type shows. And so, one of the areas, again, even talking about what's going on right now in our society and the struggles that we're facing of how do you treat these people that don't have a home? How do you treat these people that don't have food, don't have jobs and everything? I have to say, in Deep Space Nine, in the year 1995, 2 shows were put on related to this subject matter, and it talked about incidences and things that were happening. Now, that was using the year August, September of 2024. Okay, so we're beyond that. What's amazing about the show, if you look at it, is that they decided in that conversation that they were going to create these basically walled off city type areas where they called them sanctuaries. And again, they truly weren't treating people very humane, but what they were doing was clearing them out of the city.
All the homeless and all the
All the-
undesirables.
Right, and or God forbid you just lost your job and you didn't have a job and you became jobless. What was interesting about this particular thing is obviously, I would say anybody who cares about anything needs to go back and watch those two shows. It's a back-to-back show because it's mirroring what is happening now. What's scary to me about it is the fact that there are some sanctuary city issues that we are having dynamics with now. They're calling it, they're doing
Using
it,
the same terminology.
using the same terminology, saying, we welcome in anybody who's having problems, we're gonna hide, you're gonna whatever. It's scary because even in the film, Escape from New York, where they walled off New York. So I'm telling you is that there's little drips and drabs of things going on in Disclosure where it's like, holy smoke, are these sanctuary cities gonna start walling themselves off? Are they going to try to get all of these people, to go there? The interesting thing, though, is about, again, it was done in 1995. It makes you wonder, how were they able to see into the future and the struggles that would be happening now? Did they, number one, is Star Trek and some of these different shows using, these paths to look at, to
Yes.
and the crazy thing is now the cabal will do this in a way that they will basically say, I'm going to tell you what's happening, and I know I did it all, but I'm going to tell you because I'm required to tell you, and only the smart people will figure this out.
Yes, your one of your friends saw in a dream state this very same thing, like the sanctuary zones were in that two-parter Star Trek DS9 episode, where people were put in places that everybody else thought it was acceptable that they were there because they lost the will to care. And that was actually being presented correctly. So this is where the problem lies, because they're trying to get people's heart spaces to go away in this respect. Like just a certain class of people are unacceptable, like you're stupid and smart, awake, unawake, things of this nature. Now, tighter circle, deeper roots, of course. You don't want to be entangled with those that are dragging you down. That's not that argument, but that particular argument is being used to as been weaponized to beat people over the head, saying, "Do you really want to associate with this? Really, that kind of thing." And this also goes to the alien argument as well. But they were depicting like what your friend was saying. She woke up in an institution in the dream state, and it was the same kind of premise. These sanctuary areas. Your sanctuary city, yes, they were starting to actually start to do certain things like that. They were starting to plan certain things like that in your year of 2024. They were mimicking the whole Bell Riot time frame, and that's why they made it a watershed event in the Star Trek lore. Now, Star Trek screwed up in some areas where they tried to co-create like a third world war, like the eugenics wars or something. Yes, but Roddenberry was making the point where this had to happen for people to learn to have a guiding light to not do it. That's what he was trying to say with that. And he's not wrong there. But with the whole sanctuary zone thing, yes, unfortunately, this was already occurring. And within the year, it is being depicted within Star Trek. Even in your Picard, when he goes back in time, it was after this had already been resolved. Let's see, it was the months after that, I believe. Or it was basically leading up to that. And you could clearly see in Picard where you didn't see any of that going wrong, but you heard the Guinan character saying these things were going on in the background. You see, it was intersecting that same time frame. It was loosely said because the writers had slightly forgotten some of this other older stuff, but it was still integrated.
So it's an important thing to say because like Terry was just saying, if people can open their hearts, but what's happening right now is there's so much energy being beamed at people closing their hearts to other human beings. And it's one of those things now that you're dealing with a dynamic of children that grew up in a world that they're all taken care of. Mm-hmm. So what did they think about us not taking care of our own as well? You know what I mean? The dynamics.
We see it as an abomination or an affront, but at the same time, we know what has occurred to lead to this point as well.
Right, but the goal is, again, talking about having open contact, our descendants want us to get things straightened up here.
Mhm.
Because again, we're doing this to our own. And so, and they know they're not 100% our own. And so you have the hybrids or whatever. Well, how are we going to treat them if we can't even treat our own correctly? So there's a lot of problems that we have to open our hearts to, and not just only look at what's out there, but we have to clean up and treat people properly here in order to be able to be ready to go out there. And that's one of the big problems. The other question that Chris wrote down that related again to the concept of what information did the people who Gene Roddenberry and them really had, as far as Star Trek and what were they trying to do, is everything's happening in San Francisco. So you've got this whole storyline is in San Francisco shows up a lot. The head of the Starfleet headquarters ends up being in San Francisco. So,
Yes.
Mike, the question is that are they pointing out San Francisco for a reason all the
Yes.
time?
Yes, they are, because this is what one of your political factions wants to happen. Again, this is also what some of your galactics want to happen, is have it, within that, the turmoil that's happening in California right now with some a lot of lawlessness, homelessness, but at the same time, both the political factions are going back and forth, California being one of the main, New York being one of the others. But you don't want political divide of any kind. I'm not blaming left or right. I'm actually blaming both. But I'm just saying, in this, with San Francisco, yes, is there a time anomaly there? Is there a PowerPoint on that spot? Yes, there is. It is being distorted and polluted by a lot that's going on right now. But there is a special node or an apex area there, and temporal anomaly type thing. Very much not unlike your Bermuda Triangle, but smaller, like a fracture in some areas. This was part of Lemuria and Mu at one point. This is why you have descendant lineages all up and down the west coast of different factions, like from forest people to Syrian to ancient Mayan to native, all of them. Some cat people in there, and great diversity of that underground that were there in Agartha. That's why your Mount Shasta is right further along the west coast as well. And this is why your military occupies, and other aliens want to abduct people in those areas. They're distorting the natural beauty and the natural energies of there. But San Francisco in particular, the reason they want this so badly for their capital is, and they want to establish this, is they want to see that as like the center of like diversity, the center of like inclusivity type of thing. And of course, they're doing the forced inclusivity deal. I won't get too far into that. But it is also on top of, very much like your Vatican is on top of a temporal nexus point. What better place to put a headquarters that you want for galactic to want for a galactic like federation type of thing, or a United Federation of Planets, where somebody can portal in and warp in. Your Alaska has one of these too, up where that pyramid is, you see. So they want the headquarters in San Francisco to be able to show that, oh, this is like the greatest city in the United States. This is our time. This is our that kind of thing. They even touched on this in South Park, where you saw Cartman walking around in a spacesuit in San Francisco because he thought it was polluted, and it was just like normal, like prissy type people, and some people are comparing it to Paris and Milan and all this other thing in the background. And they were making something humorous about San Francisco and that. This is what I'm talking about. They're making fun of it. They're showing it as a temporal zone where it was time travel. All of this. This is because it's a nexus point there. This is why they show San Francisco so often in Star Trek and other things as well that you have not heard of.
It's interesting. That's very interesting.
You had another question?
Chris had one more question, but it's kind of off topic, so I don't know if Terry first has some more related to questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just wanted to say that the disclosure process is still moving slowly, and if we could speed that up somehow, it could help a little bit of everything. And people would actually know what's out there, what's really going on above their heads, because they're so limited to with what they know. That's why they make a lot of bad decisions and they run the country the way they do, is because they don't know everything that's going on. Yeah, there are some bad guys out there. It's trying to run it into the ground too, but just it's hard to overcome it all.
Yes, eventually this will open up. There's a lot of disclosure that's out there telling you exactly how it is. There's also different government projects putting things that they believe are true in there as well. You can't believe all the ones you're seeing on there. That's like you can't believe everything you read on the internet. So kind of thing. Like that commercial where the guy goes, "Bonjour," I met this guy on the internet kind of thing. This is that. Disclosure works this way, and synchronicities work this way too. Some things, synchronicities that come up to you are false ones that you don't want to follow. And then there are others, disclosures, that will confuse you too, that are based on someone's opinion as well. Just like the whole thing with the zombie premise, for instance, with the CDC. Yes, they were showing how to survive an apocalyptic type scenario on Earth because some factions out there believe something like that would occur. So therefore, they were warning people based on what they felt they knew. But sometimes it's opinion and conjecture too. So you have to see. Now the Star Trek one you saw last night was actually more of a firm, or what they believe is a firm thing. Things you already seen. Also, during your COVID timeframe with your FEMA camps, they were trying to set aside sanctuary areas as well within that time frame. Did you notice the year ratio in that Deep Space Nine episode? It was 2020 to 2024. So, what do you think happened during your COVID timeframe? They were trying to do this.
Right.
So they were showing you exactly what they were going to do, but that was in 1995. They were displaying.
Right, and that's what amazes me, when we can go back and we can see things that were obviously being used to predict. And again, it burns me. What burns me is that they were showing you what they were going to create, and this is, you know what I mean? This is the part that really gets me, is that, it's not like somebody was there benevolently, oh, this could be a problem down the road. No, these were people that put in and were telling you what they were going to do and how they were going to move it. And this is the nasty side of this that people have to wrap their heads around. So discernment is the key, because again, right now, I think I see so many people just trying to cope in life, and your heart has to almost shut down in some aspects because it's so overwhelming and there's so many problems that how do I function and get along without crying my eyes out all day and night over all these injustices. But we have to be brave enough to keep our hearts open in order to change this, or it will get to the level of what was shown in Deep Space Nine in those two shows that they just did. And we don't want that. We don't want that for another human being. We want our folks to be taken care of properly. So we have to understand it, and we have to push and push and push. We have to be aware of, as we say, the Greeks bearing gifts, right? The false ones that are there that are going to try to be doing things. And we have to be able to have these conversations open and honestly, because we do not want any relationship with anyone even out there built in a false foundation of lies. We want a strong foundation of truth. And we want these things, and unfortunately, that does take time. But it's worth fighting for, obviously.
Yes, yes, of course. These things take time, a little bit more time, like your Picard character said. Changes do not always come in the time in which we think it should. That is basically putting an expectation on a situation or a set of people, you see, to evolve more quickly. But at the same time, you want to manifest the proper world as well. So it's a Goldilocks zone, let's just say, in between those two premises. At least that's my opinion of observation. I know you have another question there.
I do, but just one statement first, because I have to say, it's such, with all of this negativity and all these problems we're drowning in, I have to tell you, because obviously that, Chris and I have known about the situation there for many years now. And I still find myself, when I need a moment of pulling myself back together, I have to go there. My mind will go there to bring me joy, and to know that good, decent human beings that were created, beautiful souls that were saved, and not only that, but that care enough about us here that they're not just cutting the sever of, any sort of umbilical cord, let's say, that people genuinely out there do care about us as well. Our descendants do care about us. And, the situation that we're in, because they don't want to see it for, the people who helped bring them into being in one way or another, not their families. They have families, that are there, but one way or another brought them into being. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful, loving relationship, that I think as this information gets out, it's going to be such a bright spot and such, a wonderful, beautiful thing that, as much as we can get this information out so that we can hold on to something that has great beauty to it. And we should be able to learn from what you have done to help heal people and to help move them on and bring some of that into this world that we're currently in. And, for me, I want to hear also the stories of so in a sense, our children have been put in a place where they now can grow unimpeded. So I want to hear the stories of what they're doing. I want to hear the stories of how quickly their technology has grown. I want to hear the stories of, to feel almost in a way that, whether my DNA was taken or you were created naturally or anything like that, that, even as just simply a parent, that somehow you were saved from this and you're able to move on. So I look forward to hearing the stories of, again, of New Haven and all the beautiful things that you guys have been up to that led to these beautiful cities and led to your adventures that you're going on. And I look forward to more conversations like that.
Yes, and also to your point of curiosity, your Tron trilogy was also telling some of the story of the Sparks and their emergence within also new places like New Haven as well. What you were picking up on and your memories associated with that, and the second movie in particular with the altars and things of that nature. That is actually 100% true the way it is being depicted. Within that. Some of New Haven had to do with that story, but some of your other factions had to do with that story as well, and government projects and things of that nature, and corporations. But yes, there are other hybrid children that eventually will speak to their stories. And I fully support this. Yeah, M31 wanted you to know about the whole Tron situation. Even though your meta coming out is a negative version of what you saw in your third Tron movie, Eric, that's what that is. Then you have Metatron, which would be your Archangel Metatron. Meta meaning like a life force, and then Tron meaning like artificial intelligence. Essentially a version of that was more like the darker corporations version of that. Then you have New Haven, which is essentially the real portion. Then you have the grid portion as well, which was being depicted in your 80s Tron. So it's essentially the same story.
Well, that's cool.
Yes.
So I'm going to just divert a question here because Chris really wanted it to come in today's. So there apparently the song from Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence. So there seems to be a lot of conversation about something with a vision of 2077, people seeing things on a different timeline. Their interpretation of what the Sound of Silence song means, and where people it's more dystopian, and you're so monitored where you're basically just keeping your head down and not saying anything because so much is so monitored. Everything can be used. You're guilty before you're found innocent, and it's really a bad place to be.
Yeah.
So you know, so there was conversation around this and around some of these visions that were given. My take on this, which why Chris wants this also to be answered, is that again, the difference between implanted memories and trying to prune a way of looking at something as and calling it then a factual piece of information versus this is something that's trying to be groomed into being, however, it depends on how you decide to look at it.
Could this create one of those other branch timelines? Absolutely, yes. Correct.
Yeah, so again, for those people that are all into the Sound of Silence and the 2077 visions, you have to understand the process by which grooming occurs to force a co-creative event to occur. So let's just say this dystopian is a desired timeline, let's just say. And if you have beings with technology that are able to try to divert your thoughts to create it, how would they go about doing that? They do it in a lot of interesting ways. They would implant false memories. They would tell you that you were seeing this as a part of a program, not really telling you that maybe you were just sitting in a chair and they were putting false memories in your head. So, and then they would go back to from the future, let's just say, or touch it back at the past and tell you that this is how it really meant. This song, this whatever, this is what it really meant. This is whatever. So they're going to create all of the synchronicities needed for people. Again, people are going to be like, you know, I don't want this to happen. And some people are going to start circling the head, but I saw it happen. Or this is a probability of happening. And then the more they talk about it, the more other people put in those minds. This is how they branch off something.
They feel by talking about it enough, they've disrupted it. This is the fallacy. By talking about it enough, you've created it. This is the Sound of Silence timeline is what it's known as, is a paradox. Yes, these people have experienced it. Experience what they believe are memories that are ahead of time. What happens when you have a memory? It's a frequency. And a frequency generated, implanted, or not, is a frequency. Say you bring that frequency back here. What does this do when enough people access this? It creates the echo form timeline, of which I said the tunneling I said before. You have to create these and disassemble them. This, like what you see in Loki, where they prune the branches, even though that was evil, that was being presented, that they showed the negative side of Time Core. In this, what people saw in the Montauk chair, some things were implanted because they bilocated, but some things were not. Again, like what we've said about the Roddenberry timelines, where one could say they were trying to show World War III eugenics wars and co-create, but on the flip side, showing people what that looked like too. There's nothing wrong about talking what happened to you. Absolutely nothing. But what if they knew the healing would occur? Somebody knew a healing would occur. People talked about something. What if you stuck something in there that was more viral? And that would then generate the thing you wanted by the disclosure coming out. Don't you think that came out a little too easy? From something, an organization that prides themselves on secrecy? Think about this, for instance. How did any of this come out this easily? You got to ask yourself that. How is there even documentation that talk about these projects? Because they wanted it out. You have to see this. Now, are there some things that the truth always is known? Yes. Is the truth always out there? Absolutely. But the yield dictated sometimes some things would come out. But in specifics to your question about the whole 2077 thing, this is why your Fallout timeline leached over to 2077. The bombs fall around Halloween at that time. Then you have, PowerPoint kind of the year. Within the Samhain, they have that happen there. And also your... Cyberpunk 2077, where nukes had also fallen and that also people had a bunch of cybernetic implants in them. Both had some things happen where also in the Fallout timeline, AI had taken over in some places too. What nukes fell there too? What people keep pushing nukes and war and all this other stuff, eugenics, war, and Star Trek, all this. But the point I'm getting at is 2077. They're trying to basically say, and also your Isaac brought this up years ago, where this was also a watershed year, a PowerPoint time your work timelines would more easily branch off. There are times within the timeline clusters that this can more easily happen. The Montauk Project and the Chronovisor and them determined, which is at the Vatican, what the determined and Time Core did too, that this was a PowerPoint. What do you want people to build en masse towards this? Something you want to happen. In the Sound of Silence timeline, there was that he saw the big black pyramidal structure that everybody worshipped as a god, the neon god they made, that whole thing, where people saw the work schedules and they were silent and bowing their heads on floating cities. Your Philadelphia experiment also said something similar, where they went ahead, but they didn't go ahead to 2077. They went ahead into like in the 3000s, like in your Futurama timeline, where everybody was implanted and stuff like that. Again, forced into the workforce in Futurama, assigned a job. You can't complain about it. You just do. Everybody does their part, like what he wrote in the book From the Fall of Lifting. Everybody had to do their part. Everyone must do their part. The world's a stage. Everyone must do their part, kind of thing. The Shakespearean line. He was picking up on that. Futurama laughingly went haha about it, like Fry's a delivery boy kind of deal. And then you had this whole timeline. What were they trying to do? They were trying to say by 3000 this was a foregone conclusion. But 2077, the marker point would be the beginnings of something like this, the whole Sound of Silence thing. This is a junction point, temporally. We work with junction points in New Haven, where we skew off and make the bad guys think we're here and here and here and here. It's the same thing. Again, people in the secret space programs, there was a lot of memory implanting that went on. A lot of things that you do not want to happen. They were hoping they could put some disinformation in there and hope that this would stick. Like, say somebody saw a reptilian being or something saying, oh, there was reptilian beings in this base. Yes, that was technically true, but they created for that moment, hoping you would remember a traumatic moment. What he was picking up on with his friend Ryan during a session was this, with the Sound of Silence timeline. What was this? Whereas there was some misinformation being said about the Galactic Federation, therefore the Cabal would use this to try to bring Earth in a re-separatist type of way. This will not happen. Once we are there, we are not leaving. Just know this. Once Earth has been integrated, it has been integrated into the galactic community. There is no backtracking or seceding. I know that sounds unfair or unjust in some respects. And he even said years ago that you would lose rights by this way. Only if the radical sect of the Galactic Federation got control. That's a radical sect. What I'm trying to say is the whole propaganda is that, people in the past channeled this, that the Galactic Federation had these ill rules and ill this and ill that. Oh, we have to secede. Now we can control people more with the AI deity timeline. I want you to hear this again for a second from a different perspective. Beings that were mentioning this could have also been pointing out that it was implanted. Say if you were sitting in the Montauk chair looking at different timelines, and you actually walked to those different timelines, and you remember things from a different timeline. What were they doing in that chair? They were bilocating. What were they also creating in that chair? Paradoxes. If you implant a frequency by which then you've created a timeline. Frequency is memory, is frequency. You implant this. You then put someone back with the premise that you want to warn them against this particular thing. They're coming back with a warning. A Paul Revere, the regulars are out, or the British are coming, that kind of thing. What happens? You've just created the very thing you are trying to prevent. These are Paul Revere's, nothing more. I hope this answers the question.
It does, and I think again, it just shows how complicated everything is. And again, people that are encouraging everyone to know their stories and this, that, they're
It
not.
could be the opinion of other galactics that might happen too. There's opinion and conjecture in there as well. So,
Sure, but I think it just goes to show that this is all complicated, but people have to understand that, again, not everything that they're remembering, just like I said at the very beginning about what I saw and why I didn't want to talk about it, because I didn't have the complete perspective and to know, because everything was, jumbled in there. And so this is what is happening to people, and then what they're doing is they're going to create whatever story, fill in the blanks, and it may not be
in your
completely
mind,
factual.
your mind will want to fill in blanks that it can't fill. Like if you were looped around in the secret space program, your brain will want to bring something back then that you would say is and is not.
Mhm.
This is people also call this matrix errors too, along with the Mandela effect. People have to get out of this mindset because they're trying to not. That's also where the whole "you're living in a simulation" or a prison planet propaganda comes in. They want you to believe you're living in a matrix, so therefore they can put you in. They want to put you in one. They want you to believe you're on a prison planet because they want to put you in one. You see, they can't do certain things without consent, like with the COVID thing, like what was said before. They can't build those sanctuary zones without consent. Because they want people to think another class of people are somehow undesirable and put them away somewhere. They're still up to this. So you have to pay attention to this. So basically, infinite diversity and infinite combinations, yes, but it doesn't mean that be forced. It's just that's still a foregone conclusion. Now, again, with something implanted, I'm not saying all the secret space program stuff. No, absolutely not. People have hybrid children. People have been out there in the galaxy. They've been all these things. They've been through the firmament. They've been outside the firmament. They've been everywhere.
Yes.
But and beyond the other firmament, which is the Kuiper Belt, all of it. Now they also want you to think the reptilians are guarding that Kuiper Belt, saying they're not allowed beyond this Kuiper Belt. That's horseshit. The people come and go from beyond that all the time. They're trying to say that also Odin brought this up that he wants to put Asgard back in the sky to be able to keep the system more secure. Yes. Is it wishful thinking on his part? Yes, but he is also in the works of this. Yes, and he doesn't care. Who knows now? Did he one up Valiant Thor by resituating some of these false timelines and some of these things Valiant Thor was trying to pull, which he felt were also good? Again, opinion and conjecture. Yes. Is there a pissing match between different galactic factions? Yes. But aside from that, you have to look in your mind whether something was implanted. This was also in Cyberpunk 2077, Esau, whereas V2K technology was putting images inside of a couple of politicians' heads by a military faction that was living in their own apartment in a secret room. This actually happens. They were convincing these two that was their political opponent that was actually doing all this to them. The one man caught one of them, tried to kill one of them, and then you find out at the end, and in this whole CIA van situation, that the whole streaming technology was being used, and the whole Johnny Silverhand character was pointing this out. They even showed a brain scan where somebody had a bunch of blue energy in their brain, which was implanted memories. You will find the same from every single SSP person, that they've had some good, and they are not good, but some legit memories, and a lot of padding. You called it the padded list. Of past life memories too, where everybody believes they were Horus or everybody believes they were Ra or any of them. Some of these are padded, and some of these they're accessing memories of that time to think, oh, I must be this, I must be that, and somebody else is influencing. You know what I'm talking about, to try to implant that in. The same thing goes with SSP. They're trying to influence. They were in the. Oh, it sounds like you were in this program. It is not good to do that, to influence in that area. Very bad. If you were a seer, I would not recommend saying anybody was this important person, unless the other person asks you about it. This will negate a lot of this junk that's going on, a lot of this padded list. I hope this answered the question.
It did. Thank you. Do you have any other questions, Terry?
No, I just wanted to say that, yeah, they're really complicated, but we just have to live in the now and stay in our heart space, passion, and do what brings us happiness for right now, and it'll work itself out.
Yes, indeed, because it'll hold the space. It's holding the space is important because then you negate all these co-creations. You must weed let's just see, the curds from the whey. You must separate curds and whey, but also you weed the bullshit from the actual truth and the yield. This will correct itself the more you hold that space, and the more you don't allow in some of these other timelines. Now, the sound of silence song. Yes, did it touch on some of these things? Did somebody go back and plant that information there? Yes, to a certain extent, but it also meant people waking up to the fact that that they're connecting more, even in silent times, as you said, in the non-recorded portion. Did somebody try to plant that idea, like a three-letter agency tried to plant the idea of what you guys are talking about into this for the Sound of Silence timeline? Yes, but was there elements of that song that were about that, like the Neon God? Yes, of course. But like with anything, you can interpret it in a multitude of different ways. But Simon and Garfunkel meant it as a form of waking up.
Right.
And so,
And again, it can, if you look at it, it can be, again, a guiding light on what it's like to, in silence, co-create something beautiful.
yes, and basically you call it the Silent Army as well. Also in the newer Disturbed video, the Sound of Silence, you see the ship coming ashore. That's it right there.
Exactly.
So-
So again, it's what you make of it. And like I always say, you need to spend a lot of time saying absolutely not, mean it, and then give no more energies to it.
Yes, and some people believe by speaking about it, you're dismantling it. In some cases, yes, loose lips sink ships, no pun intended. But in this case, because you're spreading some propaganda as well.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to give you any last statements you want to make for today. Let me just tell you though, for myself, again, knowing about you guys, I just have to tell you again, and I've said this, through the hardships and everything that everyone went through and through the rescues, I am so happy for you all to have landed where you have landed, to be able to blossom and grow, and to do probably just things that would be amazing to us. As someone who, again, either birthed someone there or their DNA was taken, that is what a parent wants from a child, to have them in happiness and to be able to see them grow and learn and become something greater than, what we were. And so with that, like I said, I look forward to hearing more stories about this. I would cry tears of joy right now, knowing that such a place exists where people are taken, and then again, being able to thrive and to be able to do everything that we hope for humanity here one day.
Yeah, just like in that episode of Star Trek here, the past tense, part 1 and 2 of DS9, where all the individual people were telling their stories over the web. This is the same thing. This is only when the internet was just first starting. They were showing that in the show as well. And also pads and phones and the communicators, all this. But with this, each person telling their story, yes, in the SSP, this is important, but not to exist within that, of course, tell the darker story of what happened. Information is absolutely, and history is absolutely important. The real one. Of course, constantly trading war stories like I lost this eye here and this finger got cut off here is not always necessarily a good thing. Or I got this tattoo here. Now, there are good things that happen too. And yes, each individual should tell their story. No question. Even if there's some disinformation there, that then they know that it's been implanted. To tell the difference as well. Absolutely true. That's just taking that away would be no different than ripping down a historical statue or taking down a painting or a mural or what have you. Some history is unpleasant. You must learn about it. But also some of those memories come back only for those that are meant to use it to actually forward this movement. But if you linger, you're dragging that frequency back down. You're here to pass it forward like a torch or a baton. Now, with the individual stories being told, that's also for the SSP, but also for these hybrid children, you will see them tell those individual stories as well. Like you saw these people telling their individual stories as well in that episode, or the two-part episode, where they were trying to prevent their voice from getting out, where the government wanted to control that. That was true. that's essentially was symbolizing the cancel culture as well, individual stories. That's why this is important. So I know that this was the end of this, that the channel is getting shaky a little bit. There has been some opposition to this, so excuse if you experience all three of you, all four of you, any of you experience any blowback from this. This will attempt to be minimized. There are beings out there that do not like when we communicate and tell our stories. So if all the individual children wish to tell their little sagas at some point, that is more than welcome, including some that have been gathered from Earth in the trafficking scenarios. They are more than happy to do so at this point. So, any other questions for myself?
No, thank you so much.
Thanks, Luna.
Hmm.
It's been awesome hearing from you.
Thanks, Luna.
Yes, and thank you all as well. I got the name because I was actually rescued by some factions that were on the moon, you see. So I chose the name Luna as well. And so he picked up on me years ago, but he didn't know it as well. So I will end this here, closing conduit at this time. I thank you.
Take care.
Ooh. Yeah, everything's blue in here now. Okay, yeah, that I could tell they were somebody was pulling at my throat pretty aggressively through that, but was kind of gripping my vocal cords right here. You could tell she was trying to smooth it out, but somebody was like yanking at them like harp strings. So that was the tug of war going on. It's pretty peaceful now. They've pretty much cleared a lot of the junk that was away, but they were excusing. They're like, "Sorry, this happened," kind of thing. They're not to co-create it, but at any rate, yeah, this was an interesting episode. I could see where she was talking from. It was like this archway where she was grabbing like two pylons like this and speaking like this archway. And within mythology, anybody that's grabbing the two stabs like this is considered a symbol of communication. So the Untumbans, you choose two stones they stand between. You have the Viracocha figure where you saw him holding two stabs. Anything with the two things, that's a form of communicating from somewhere, like they're communicating that way. I can make my communication arcs with a few pieces with the two rods. So this is, at least with most of them anyway. I found that quite interesting, where that's what that meant. So I don't know if anybody here has anything to add to this program.
Just want to say, hey, if anybody wants to know if you have hybrid kids, get a hold of Chris and set up a session. That's what we did. We found out, so it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they also tried to tell me they were in like a pocket dimension somewhere at first, but now I know what they meant was one of those time tunnel type deals that went through the New Haven. It was all New Haven essentially. So thank you everybody for watching this particular episode. This was actually quite fascinating. So yes, Isaac, no Spock innuendos intended. Yes, thank you. All right. It's good to know you're back to yakking here. So okay. Now this is where I close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas of this moment in time. So thank you everybody. Bye bye now.